That's right, we just got to keep entertaining the people, which is why we are back. Boys, gals, and non-binary pals, welcome back to the Team AoE 4 action. And this is gonna be a fun one. We have been following the tales of Mr. as he engages with the teamed rank experience, and he's got quite the team of Avengers assembled here. And they're going to need to avenge themselves after the pain they experienced previously on the team rank leaderboard. In the purple here, we have got Mr. himself playing as the Japanese. A very effective Civ actually right now in team play, I feel. Next to him, it is going to be Sassy going on the French. They have a nice amount of tempo control coming out from the choice by Red. And then finally, to the south, we are going to have Myriad on another tempo-type Civ. More aggressive version of the Abbasids. It is, of course, their cousins, the Ayyubids in the teal. Across the ways, we actually have some familiar faces here. Jigglyturd might be a familiar sight, a.k.a. Jigglypuff. I'm sure a few of you know who this is. NA Gamer, team game extraordinaire, in the green playing as Jeanne D'Arc. Next to them, they are going to have a yellow teammate. It's another member of the clan, Devils here, BLB, playing as Juji's Legacy in the pocket position, which means they're more protected. So it makes sense to have this Civ there. And then finally, it is going to be Free Elo as the Roos in the blue. Interesting choices on both sides here, actually. So the reason it's interesting is from the West Side's perspective, they've got this really good eco-type Civ in the safest position. And on the flanks, they've got the Roos that play good tempo control of Knights in the mid-game. But also, it's Roos on a team map, which means you typically tend to crack all your bounty targets. Unless, of course, you're up against pro-level players. Pro-level players that, for the most, will deny a lot of that bounty away from you. But even if they do that, the Deer on his teammate's side alone should be enough to actually get him close to, if not over the threshold of what he's looking for here, right? That tier 3 bounty. On top of that, rounding it out, Jeanne D'Arc, just a great choice here. I'm not sure if Jigglyturd is micro levels of a MOBA player here, so we'll see if they're able to contest. But the thing that's really nice about Jeanne D'Arc in general on maps like this is that you are going to have multiple targets. You are going to have a lot of utility in those big team fights for your entire team. Another cool element that I really love about Jeanne D'Arc with the Roos is that the Roos will go and hunt after the Deer, and then afterwards you can team up for a mutual value off of the ball kills, right? Realistically, Jeanne doesn't need the help to take out balls, but the reality is that these Knights are always able to get in position quick enough, and it just means that one teammate gets the gold as well as the bounty tick up, and then the other is getting the XP. So it's a double dipper. I always like that in team games, is finding a beneficial shared interest here. So like a cool example that we saw in 2v2s, and I'm hoping we're going to see more of in 2v2s actually, is the combo of something like Ayyubids and Japanese. The reason why Ayyubids plus Japanese is a really cool combo is because the Ayyubids, or even the Abbasids actually, either one works, comes by and builds a mill, and then the Japanese munch through that mill supply so quickly that it's insane. Folks, when you get level 2 wheelbarrow, which you'll have access to in Feudal Age, you gather from berries quicker than the Abbasids do. Kind of crazy, right? If they have the fertilized or horticulture of it's a bit different, sure. But there is a beautiful scalability to it. And the way that I've seen that used once really well is this play here, going into the grove to make the orchids even better, and then walking a village around to build the mills up. But I don't think we're going to see that in this game. I imagine it's going to be a bit more greedy coming out. And shout out to all the people who are highlighting their watching streaks, rather, they're on. Glad to see people consistently tuning in. I'm actually, look, I want to give everyone a big shout out, actually. After the break we took earlier this year, now returning to streaming and now starting to upload on YouTube, the support is really cool to see. And if you guys didn't know, yes, we are now uploading to YouTube again, so the goal is going to be at least one video a day. But I'm hoping to scale that up. Hopefully, we'll be able to start making this profitable. The reason that's important is if I can make money off of it, I can actually put more time into it, which I always want to. A very light meditation garden here, right? I mean, this isn't a meditation garden. It's more just like a deep fort garden, to be honest with you. I mean, he got stone gold, a little bit of wood, but he didn't get that much food. I'm wondering if there was a really a better option around here somewhere. Maybe double stone food would have been nice, but that's pretty far out. I guess in terms of spawns for them, there wasn't that much better. This is something I've noticed with team games, actually. The team spawns are a little bit more balanced for meditation gardens in general, whereas the 1v1s tend to condense resources a bit more, right? So, for example, in a 1v1 on Cliffside, you go out to the flanks, you usually can get like a 120 plus resource meditation garden. You can see by these flanks, that's not really feasible here, right? This might be the closest example. This would have been the broken one to find, is the 8 berry with the stone, gold, and then a wood line in range. That would have probably been about 150 resources. But they are much harder to reach compared to 1v1s. So Tech Up's coming out. We probably should have actually hit the 2 times. Apologies for that, so I'll speed up a little bit now, because we're still very much at the beginning of the age up. First Knight is going to come in, though. So First Blood, we actually caught it perfectly, even though we sped up. Myriad trying to rush up an outpost, a bit greedy here. Now, luckily for him, Jeanne is not here yet. It looks like I think Jigglypuff rushed the age up. So, yeah, Jeanne isn't ready to be level 2 yet. So it is just Knights. That's at least the plus side here. And we have got Desert Raiders coming out. So it looks like he did drop the stables. That's a heavy investment, by the way. They do cost 180 resources, but a solid solution up against these Knights, remember. Not only, and this is what's kind of crazy about Raiders, by the way, not only do you reduce the damage to these Knights by 4 down to 15, you then have 5 melee armor. So while you're hitting them for, if it ends up being 23 damage, they're hitting you for 10. 120 health versus 190 health, numbers speak for themselves. So this counter unit, definitely a worthwhile investment. How are we looking elsewhere? It looks like we did get 2 TC play coming out of blue. So he shifted back towards a safer location with this. Raids are coming in from Sassy, though. Oh, no. No, it's getting worse. The more you run around, the more that come. Oh, no. Oh, that was a mistake. That was a very big mistake from blue. Oh, I should have put the Benny Hills theme tune on. That moment where he just starts running around and more come. I don't think this is going up. No. 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 Boys and gals, we have Doubt Castles. I think that's what we call a Doubt TC. Please, just send someone to build it, for the love of God. Oh, that is such a painful start to the game for blue. And the Knight immediately peels off to go after more villages. Oh, does he get... he might get 2 more villages here. Garrison. Oh, I think that was just in time. I think he... No, he got 1. So Blue's not having a fun time right now, folks. He's down to 19 eco. For comparison, Myriad, who's on 1 TC, is at 24, right? He did go for the eco wing. He lost villages as well. So that mirror comparison of the 2 players suffering, fair to say the free elo is living up to his name and suffering a lot more while giving free elo. Green is still being annoying, though. Jigglypuff just patrolling that mid-map, trying to prevent Teal from getting freebies on the berries there. So great read there. Meanwhile, behind this, Sassy, not only does he deny Blue's TC for a very long time, he gets his own ahead of time. And remember, you may not be used to seeing it, but this is normie French, which means that they have got the faster producing TCs. They are going to scale economy very quickly in games like this. Over the side, looks like Mister hasn't gone for a multi-TC. Oh, wait, sorry, he did. 1 TC there. I was about to say, that's a very tight TC, actually, which I like. I think it's responsible of him here not to split it up too much. I find that Japanese is one of the civs that really benefits from a close second TC on either their stone or their gold, simply because the whole idea is to eventually upgrade your primary TC and then protect this whole eco area. And you're going to flood it with farms anyway. So compared to other civs, like, you know, the Chinese that will put all their granaries on the back, or the English that will spread out farms behind their base, I think Japanese is one of those examples of a condensed economy that functions very well. It's very reminiscent, actually, of the Aachen Chapel in the HRE in that regard. So, raids are done for the time being. We have got 2 TC play coming out from the Juji's Legacy. I think we have got, yeah, Jiangnan Tower, so that was cost efficient. It means they can actually easily set up nice granaries in the center here. This map is very open right now, though, and you're noticing only one player is making an interest, taking an interest, rather, in walling it off, and that is, of course, Mister. So understandably, he doesn't want to face raids here, because I think he's playing a greedy fast castle, but if I'm not mistaken, and he is indeed. Floating Gate is on the way. He's already dropped his stables, triple stable, in fact, so looking to join the party fast here. Pretty solid solution to what the left side team are going to pump right now, because they don't have camels. So these mounted samurai are just going to be better knights. Yes, these French knights, they are going to get the benefit of increased attack damage when they charge, but the difference is that you can take that charge for free with the Mounted Samurai and take no damage. On top of that, when we start to collate these fights together, you're going to be talking about like 2 players with Knights versus 1 with Camel Lancers and 1 with Mounted Samurai, which means you have a comp that not only reduces the left side team's output, it also is very complementary in that this Mounted Samurai, they function as your tanks, and then Lancers plus Raiders can function as your killers. But that's before we even add in the 3rd player, right? This is essentially Trip Cav, which is a bit tough right now because Yellow doesn't have any way of contributing there. They're going to have to play super defensive. Looks like they're going to be going into Spearman here. I hope it wasn't the plan was to go past guard. That would completely fall short. Knights, in the meantime, are raiding in. Looks like Blue did catch Mr. trying to build up some of those walls further inland here. He's going to start wrapping, but the problem is it's difficult to really do anything from this position. You can already see the free stables are getting ready to pump. I don't know where the Yorishiro went. Am I blind? Oh, he put it in the forge. Very interesting choice here. I think it makes sense in a team game just because you don't get as much value out of a Yorishiro production building, and they're annoying to get rid of later. So it's just going to give him some permeable gold, just constantly just churning out. Would have been cool to have seen it dropped in the TC. The only issue, and I think this is why you will not see many people doing TC drop Yorishiros anymore, is that there's no way to get it out, right? So once you have 4 Yorishiros, you're capped, and there's no way you can delete your primary TC, so it's always Yorishiro'd. I hate that that exists right now. I really hope that they come up with a better solution. The problem is, like, I like this idea of capping Yorishiro's effectivity, but right now it has no transitional point into the late game. The closest is you delete the production buildings and then wait 4 minutes for a new one to come out. Raid's coming on the other side, though. Sassy catches the tech up! No way! And Jiggly tries to go back in for it! It looks like Spears are going to be able to react to this, but this is still a lot of idle time. There's still a lot of slowdown. Remember, behind this, there's not many players left in Fuel Age. 2 of them are, in fact, on this left side team, so critical that Jiggly Turd gets that age up. Even more so considering this detail, folks. It's a raw institute play, which means you're looking for that immediate hit. And right now, you're being delayed heavily. And I don't know if this is the right read, actually. This is a 10-night game for green. If you had 20, it makes more sense, but this timing, I think Guildhall would have served probably a better purpose for them. Blue, in the meantime, getting some good raids in onto Teal's eco here. Myriad, by the way, is still playing 1 TC, right? Yeah, down to 33 economy. So I'm noticing a pattern in these team games, and it does seem to be that Myriad gets left to the wolves. But Sassy is there to help. Let's be real, though. He's only here to help because Mr. has no problems this game. Mr.'s in a very chill Zen-like state, already picking up relics. And I don't think anyone else is in this game trying to do that right now, right? It's interesting, actually, because you'd think the team player that would be allowed to go for relics would be Myriad. For 1, he doesn't have a second TC. 2, Dervishes are just much better at picking up relics. So we'll see how many he can get off the map. On the other side, I don't think BLB has gone from Monastery at all, right? So they aren't giving any attention whatsoever to relics. Small choice. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of value in passive resources if the game goes late enough, but on a 3v3 map, there's plenty of resources to grab. Finite resources, right? The amount of gold on this map means you're not going to run out of that anytime soon, but it is a one-up, right? It's extra eco when both sides are popped that one side will have access to, the other doesn't. Dude, these sneaky dervishes, I love this from Myriad. He goes for the furthest away relics here. It makes a lot of sense. So the goal right now is to let Mr. have the close by relics with his Shinto play. And you can just wrap wide with the camels in. It's working because right now the Lancers are baiting all the attention of Jiggly Turd. I feel like Jiggly Turd is maybe baiting himself with this desire to get XP on John, right? He's just running around. He's like, oh, XP, XP. So you can easily bait him with 1 or 2 Lancers to just chase. This right now is not the fight you want to chase into, though. Camel Lancers coming in. Cleave on the backside adds a little bit of damage in, but with the Camel Lancers in this mixer, Camel Raiders as well, that's a lot of Knights lost. Sure, you'll get the XP for the level 3. How? How did he win that? What? That isn't even Raw Bloodlines, folks. I checked it at the moment he won that fight for Bloodlines. There was no Raw Bloodlines at all. Instead, Myriad loses a fight that arguably he never should. And John, I don't think she'd done too much there, right? The Divine Restoration helped out a little bit. There was a cleave. But this is still Camel Lancers. It kind of looked like maybe Teal didn't get a long charge. Remember, the way that Camel Lancers work is if they don't get long enough to wind up their charge, their damage is much less. You can see there, they start off at 25% less base. They can build up to 40% extra damage if they have enough charge. I think maybe he just didn't get enough there. Dive starting to come in. Jigglyturd feeling maybe a little bit overconfident here. I think he's jumping the gun a bit. Interesting choice, by the way. Went into Jeanne's Riders. You're probably wondering why. So am I. Now, it makes sense. The reason he goes for Jeanne's Riders, it's not effective against these camels. It's not effective against this mass cav. But the issue is if he goes for the champions, it means that Jigglyturd doesn't have a mobile army anymore. So this is all just about keeping mobile cav as much as possible. Tech up complete from Sassy, by the way. He did go for the same. He went for the Royal Institute, but on top of that, he went for Royal Bloodlines ahead of Green. So great read there by Jigglyturd to not take that engagement. He would have got destroyed even with Jeanne there. The extra health would have guaranteed it. Meanwhile, north side, looks like we are starting to get an active Mister in this game. But a lot of spears here to meet him. So BLB says, get the hell off my lawn. It's going to force him to march back in. There's a lot of Chuge Nu behind this, plus the Spearman. You could just try to mass Yuumi. I imagine the issue in Mister's mind there is very big map, very inefficient population unit, right? Instead, Mister heads all the way up into Imperial Age. And I think we are going to be looking at a mass Samurai transition. Can you call it a transition if he was already technically on Samurai? I mean, they're mounted, but they are Samurai for all intents and purposes. This is a cool read, though. Adachi is going to destroy these fights. Adachi plus the fact that they're just men-at-arms, right, beats Spearman and Chuge Nu. The fact that there's crossbows in here is irrelevant as well for BRB. Crossbows will lose out to this mass also, just because the Samurai, with the Adachi and the extra melee tech upgrade, they are as strong as crossbows. Not to mention the fact that this is going to be veteran crossbows versus elite Samurai, at least eventually. MRX does need to survive a raid first, so Mister has backed away with his cav. He's going to have to think about getting active in this fight. Shogunate Castle is going to make this difficult to dive, though. He's going to be moving into the secondary TC. The rockets are starting to be launched. And remember, there's a Castle of the Crow over here, so another interesting detail in this game. Mister did not go for the Tanegashima Gunsmith, but as a result, he gets a defense that is impossible for this army to dive. Right now, this is so uncomfortable with BLB. It's either death by Crow or death by Shogunate. And Blue's over here as well. That's also tough, right? These Knights, even with the Boys' Fortitude, even with how tanky they may seem, against the Castle of the Crow, they're not going to last that long. Dive does come in onto the eco. Knights are now reacting to that, though, so it'll be minimum casualties. And Yellow, dude, so far he's been running around like a headless chicken. He just doesn't know what to target here. And Mister, despite the fact he's 2v1 here, he's holding. Which means somewhere else, someone is folding. And it is, of course, going to be Jigglyturd. Starting to look like the turd of the game right here. 2v1. He had to know this was coming, and this is not good for him. Mass cav on mass cav, and in the camels. Even though you've got Jeanne, you do not have the edge in this. He's going to need some assistance. I just don't know if it's coming. Yellow so far has thrown away an insanely large army. Look at how big this force was. I think he had about 50 units in total. He's now down to half of that. That's courtesy of the arrow fire, and more in particular, these rocket shots that are one-hitting every unit that dives. Abandonment. All right, this is going to be cleared up at the backside of this. And looks like the elite mounted samurai are now coming in to chase after the knights. Dude, these units look sick. I actually think these units are meant to be played in purple. I also do love how the knights, for some reason to this day, carry their swords in the wrong direction. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Now that you've seen it, you won't be able to unsee it. They were legit holding their swords the wrong way around. That's going to drive you guys crazy. But honestly, purple mounted samurai and the elite status actually are the coolest I've seen so far. It looks like a Byzantine unit. It kind of feels like this is what Cataphract should look like. Holy crap. TC built behind this. It's going to be a torch down attempt, but BLB has chosen poorly. Army is going to be cleared up. They're going to be reset. Behind this, BLB has got the full granary transition, so they're not weak by any extent. They can easily rebuild. I think they're looking for a tech up there, right? I mean, they should be with 4K gold in reserve. Night Clash coming in. Looks like Jigglyturd. I don't think you want this fight, right? This is a bit of a dicey one. Luckily for him, it looks like the Camel Lancers are attacking Jeanne, which is the perfect situation. So actually, in the end, a good fight for him. Mass heal's also not being used by Myriad. In the end, he does get slapped down. Now, Sassy's on the way, shaking his head, going, why do I have to keep babysitting this guy? He might actually get a good charge off here. In fact, Jigglyturd gets baited into a renewed engagement. He's going to be pushed away. Now, remember, because of all that damage that was soaked and, shall we say, deflected by Mister, it means that even with bad trades like that between Myriad and Jigglyturd, the right side team are still ahead. On top of that, remember, this player that did deflect 2 players is in Imperial Age. And they're still trying to dive him, which at this stage, honestly, you're just begging for death. It doesn't work, folks. If there's one lesson I can teach to people, it's respect the rocket launcher, okay? Turns out, usually, rocket launchers counter units very well. Especially when the game is based around knights and archers and all these things, and someone just gets a giant missile launcher. This thing hits for 190 damage against anything you're diving with. That means even these knights with 310 health get 2 hit by it. Sassy, a little bit overzealous here. It's going to back away. Looks like BLB is ready to tech up, so don't worry about not having much of a game. We've still got plenty left in this. Sassy so far has been completely uncontested on the backside, though, and I think that's something they need to change, right? If you are green in this game, maybe take 4 or 5 knights and just go around the back. Go chase down some economy, because I think the fact that he's completely unharassed is making this very difficult, because it means that he can mirror and match this counter knights wherever it goes. North side, things are getting a bit more worrisome. Blue had to switch over into crossbows, but the problem with that is crossbows, like we highlighted, when you're an age behind especially, I mean, look at the damage here. You do 23 damage. Meanwhile, these elite samurai do 24 damage with that Adachi against you. And by the way, Mister still, I think, is missing 2 melee techs. Oh, sorry, 1. It should be 1. It's... wait. Oh, sorry, I think I clicked the wrong unit for a set there. There we go. So now, there we go. He's got the pretty absurd amount of damage there. 22 damage without the bannerman. With the bannerman, he does more than the crossbows. And then also, keep in mind, we haven't even got Oda Tactics yet. Oda Tactics will make this not even a close fight. So, just something to keep an eye on. Because Blue, still not ready to tech up yet. He's pushing forward again, though. Mister, however, has sent a contingent to the south side to help. Because it looks like there is danger in Myriad's base. A dive coming out, a full commitment. The army here from Jigglyturd. Has to turn and burn, though. Heavy losses on both sides, but need to be careful because now that Mister's showing up here, they could just start to dart to the left side. That's going to force a full reaction, right? Because what I'm seeing over here, this crossbow mass is not scary right now for Mister. There's no easy way for him to dive. Knights are going to march in the north side, so that's going to be a good find. They do find Sassy's gold workers. So several villages of the French are going to go down here. A good little raid. If he checks north, he'll even find more, but my instincts tell me he's more focused on the base. We'll have to see, though. Blue. Does he know? I think he doesn't. I actually don't expect him to go check this. So instead, Mad Samurai, get the attention. And Blue does know. He goes north and check this. 26 villages. Mister's about to lose. That's going to be a heavy loss right now. His eco is only 92 big. So villagers in a bit of a pickle, a bit of a bind. Even with the textiles, they are not going to last long against this. And Mister completely distracted on the south side. He doesn't react quick enough here. He loses everyone on the gold. Oh my god. Now I remember I said purple and gold looks good together, but this is not a good look. Mister reduced down to 68 eco now. By comparison, the person who just done that, Blue, up to 102. This is going to slow down the timings later in this game for Mister. It's going to make him a little bit slower on the reboom, I think, if his army ever gets wiped. However, this is a good army to fight with. He went into the Onobugisha. Upgrade should be coming through soon as well, I believe. Veterancy into elite status. Not queued up just yet, but he has got Oda Tactics prime behind the biology. That does mean that this is not going to be the best of exchanges, but it is still a push forward. And next to this, Red Pass is on the way. So now Sassy staking claim in the center and getting the opportunity to head up into Imperial upgrades. Meanwhile, Jigglyturd, he hasn't got there yet. I mean, he has got the elite upgrade in Jeanne D'Arc. Mecha Jeanne is online. These Knights, they aren't going to be able to match blow for blow what Red's now going to be starting to push. Looks like Jeanne, is she going to go down? She goes down very casually there. So Miss Micro coming in from Jigglyturd. If there's one unit you need to keep an eye on, it is, of course, going to be Jeanne de Blast. Instead, she gets wiped out. Looks like the last of the Samurai are going to get cleared up with the Nest of Bees. Now, The rejuvenated, interest in Samurai emerges from the north, straight towards Blue's base here. Blue still not ready to age up. We've got another Imp player in this game. So all but Myriad on the right side team are in Imperial Age. And only BLB from the left side team has reached Imperial. I imagine Myriad isn't going to be heading up anytime soon, right? In fairness, he spent most of the game just getting kicked in the nuts here. So not in a great position. I like that he went for the second TC and he's starting to reboom though. He has got 4 relics as well, which kind of insulates you a little bit. However, as soon as I say that, villagers are now being massacred on the goal by the keep placement. So definitely still looking like a pretty grim game for Teal. Now with this march north side, it's going to force a mirrored reaction, right? Yellow shifting that army slowly across. Mister's starting to break through, though. I'm getting a bit worried here. I mean, bringing Nesta Bees and Spears up against mass Onabugisha is a quick way to get yourself killed. The only upside right now is, of course, that Mister still has not queued the upgrade for the Onabugisha. They are only veteran. Bit surprised by this. He is a little bit lacking on the gold after that raid north side, but I think this should have been a very high priority for him. And on the plus side, he does at least have Oda Tactics, which gives you a decent amount of that damage coming in just 10 seconds. So with this unit, we should see an increase of about 2 damage, which is quite a lot. Remember, this unit attacks twice as quickly as standard melee units. So it's like a +4 increase, which isn't bad for a unit that isn't even in its final form. I actually love the way that Mr. Sassy and Myriad just keep dragging the fights north and south side. I think it's a really big weak point in the game strategy for BLB here. Because he's playing as the Zhujis, his options are really limited in terms of mobility. I mean, you can try to go for Palace Guard, but Palace Guard are always going to lose to Samurai, right? It's just not a good fight. So you go for Spearmen, you go for these crossbows. Once again, slow-moving armies, can't easily get in position. The thing that's being done much better by the East Side team here, the pros, is that they are splitting the map. They're punching the fact that there's no stone wall layering up and down this map right now. And it's kind of crazy that they aren't able to defend that way when you consider that this left side team, the Devils boys, the way they have all these palisades is so defensive, you'd imagine they'd be able to get stone walls up alongside it. But when you consider the price of those stone walls and the fact of how long they take to build, it always feels like it would take a bit too long and a raid would always arrive. So really big credit to the East Side team for keeping that pressure up. Onabugisha have been elited up now, so this is ridiculous. Even against the Palace Guard, they destroy them. Oh my god. I love this unit so much. Onabugisha is my favorite unit in the game, without a doubt. It's so incredible to witness. I actually hope we get more units like this. That was what that sigh was, a realization that we need more unique units in the game. I wonder if they're slightly overtuned. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's kind of like a limited options available in the late game means this is the only option right now. So if you nerf Onabugisha or Samurai, Japanese can't function as a Civ, right? So I think it's fine to keep it as it is right now. I mean, it's not that it doesn't have a counter, it's just you have to have this funneled effort. I think the mistake that a lot of people are making against Onabugisha right now is they're just not walling themselves in appropriately. You have to think of Onabugisha literally the same way you do as Palace Guard, right? Where Palace Guard, they aren't really meant to win the main fight, they're just meant to flood the economy and win the game because of it. Onabugisha are in the same exact avenue. Clashes continue across the map here, though. Sassy looking for a way, and these are still only palisade walls. There's a decent number of keeps, but I do see gaps, right? Particularly here in the center. Also, when you go south side, there's a very big gaping gap here to run through. Red Palace does make it a bit more difficult. The other thing that I would keep an eye on is this wide flank. If someone just goes right around the back, the other thing that's really smart with what the East Side team have done is that they've walled off the trade. So trade as a recovery mechanism simply is not an option. These guys on the left side just need to kill, and right now, Jigglytuff's doing exactly that. He does catch Teal all alone without protection and without army, down to just 6. Eco at 94. Instead of coming to protect, though, they go for their own dive into Blue's base. Blue in a big bit of trouble here. Down to 92 elo. 92 villagers. Being made to look like a 92 elo gamer right now just because Mister is flexing on him between the Naginata wielding Onabugisha as well as the Horseman. He can't defend this. And he's losing all areas of his base, and that's going to have a ripple effect, folks. If he starts to lose on his front, that means that it's going to be exposed eco in the back of yellows. See Blue even retreating over here for his farms now, so everything becoming a little bit too condensed for my liking. Meanwhile, that raid has now been answered. Sassy in position does react to this. Now, this is going to be Raw Bloodline Knights on Raw Bloodline Knights, which means Jeanne is going to be the X factor here. She can win out these fights. Right now, she's not counted at all. I mean, I'd really love to see Myriad just get one camel out here, but he has no food to work with, which is unfortunate, because one camel would be the difference maker here with that aura. Looks like BLB has received a bunch of food, interestingly enough. Was that from green? That might have been from green. So interesting that BLB is the one struggling for food, considering that he is playing as the strongest food sieve on his team with triple granary, but okay. Jigglytuff gets pushed back. Meanwhile, Blue is almost dead. I'm getting a bad feeling that Mist is going to just break this game wide open. The Owner Bugisha is just unanswerable right now. I mean, the Palace Guard, they hit for 19 damage. These Bugisha, they hit for 14. They just hit faster. Sure, you got the melee armor, but the problem is, like, you may notice an issue here. BOB skimped out. They only got the melee armor level 1, which is a big, big no-no against Japanese. You need to be prioritizing these upgrades because remember, the Japanese get an extra +1 melee attack, which means that if you aren't keeping up on the melee defenses, you are doubly behind than what you are against other civs. And that's a very big difference, isn't it? That Mister, he always prioritized that. He even got the level 2 melee armor, which means he's just very efficient at defending this front line. And now with the Bannerman in the mix, so look at that damage number! Oh my goodness, 17 damage! They hit almost as hard as the Palace Guard. The difference, however, is Palace Guard take 1.4 seconds to attack. These Owner Bugisha take, was it 0.875 seconds. Good luck, have fun. Actually, scrap that. You're against Owner Bugisha, you're not having fun. And Horseman as well. Mister, in onto the back economy here. I think this is almost over. Yellow, what are we looking at? Eco down to 115. Blue, down to 100. The problem is that even though that number still looks good, they just have no way of solving for this. They've never walled themselves in. They don't have an easy way of now walling. They got limited resources in those corners, so it's just going to get worse. At least the Horsemen have been cleared up. Owner Bugisha are going to back away. The only reason why you're seeing Mr. back off right now is because he took a 2-on-1, right? He essentially split himself that wide. But soon, Myriad will be ready to go, right? Like, Myriad has been in recovery mode for a long time here. But even just these trebuchets are a really important detail. It's allowing his team to start finding new avenues into the enemy base. It's also allowing him to start blocking out the enemy with these keep drops. This one's a little bit late. I think he's already got a good play in the center to deny gold. And remember, once again, this is a game where one side got the majority of relics, where one side has the opportunity to trade, and the fact is, the other has no way of trading due to all these walls. Sassy now showing up into Yellow's central defenses. Castle, unlikely to last long here. The all in all has been researched, but I mean, you are up against the late Royal Knights. It doesn't last very long. And that means now, with Yellow being dragged south side, Blue once again finds himself in a 1v1 with Purple. And you are going to be beaten until you are Blue and Purple here. It's not going to be pretty. It is going to involve a lot of pity, though. I do feel bad for Blue. There's no way you can mount an army quick enough now to defend against this. Green is the one redeeming factor in that Teal is kind of beaten to death at this stage. But the problem is you're talking about 2 players losing versus 1 player losing, right? So the only way this works for Green is if they now go past Teal's base and into Red's. I think at this point you are beating a dead horse. You need to do something about the other 2 players that horses are beating the crap out of you. I also just love the fact that Mister's not even trying to burn down the base. He's just like, oh, kill enemy, oh, kill enemy. It's funny as well because with older tactics, you get 20% more torch damage. So these are incredibly effective torches. 24 per torch. Instead, he's just vibing right now. I think that's starting to change though. Bombards are shrinking Blue's control in this game. I say control in this game as if he has any left. I mean, he is a non-factor. I would say Teal at this point poses a bigger threat than Blue. And Teal right now is being murdered, so that really sets the standard here. I'm sorry, Blue, but it really does look that bad. Pretty cool game, though, coming out from both sides. I mean, it looked really good for the left side team until they fixated on Mister. I think they wanted to punish this Imperial Age way too badly. If this had been Tanagashima Gunsmith, their play makes a lot of sense. The moment you see Castle of the Crow, though, I think the lesson the left side team probably took away from this game is if it's a Crow, it's a no. Don't dive this. Don't fight anywhere near this. If you guys remember, at one stage, BLB had the GG type feeling army, but his mistake was he found himself between a rock and a hard place, literally. The Castle of the Crow and the Shogunate Castle, and he lost so many troops to that. Wallow coming out. That was a panic. Oh, no. And the best part is I literally have Jigglypuff in my chat saying that he's OP. So OP, you had to generously donate some troops over to Myriad. How kind of you. The problem with that as well is he donated some knights. He mostly has horsemen. Oh, dear, oh, dear. But yeah. This play right here, like, you know, we don't see Castle of the Crow much, but I've got to really give it to Mr. The Castle of the Crow choice was the MVP option in this game. Like, honestly, that was the clutch detail. If it wasn't for Castle of the Crow, if he'd gone Tanagashima when his armies dove him, I think he's dead. And I think with the damage to Myriad, you then have Sassy trying to do what we saw in a 3v3 earlier, right? Where he's running left to right, trying to fix both of the outer skirt players' problems. Instead, though, that Castle of the Crow meant this greedy choice by Mr. was well insulated and set him up beautifully for this late game phase. Also has been giving him paydays via the treasure caravan, right? Treasure caravan that should be spawning from... Did it come from... Wait, this one? Okay, on this short distance, folks, look at what he's getting. That is not even... That's not even a third of the map. And he's getting 2,000 resources. Tell me this landmark sucks. Try it. Castle of the Crow is underrated. Tanagashima, definitely strong. But it turns out Mr. doesn't need it. He's already strong enough. As is Sassy and Myriad. They take the dub. GG gets called. NA trash. Put back in their hole. The EU boys look a bit too strong.